As of now, the 24-inch iMac is not out yet. We still have no idea what Apple's gonna be doing, and we don't even know when the release date is, although it should be pretty soon, though still, we don't have any idea. No clue. But with that aside, we have a pretty good idea that it's going to be somewhere close to this, and I did make up some information just for the dramatic effects of today's video too. So with that aside, let's get started with the iMacs. These are the three configurations for the 24-inch iMac. And yes, I did Photoshop this, so this is not the official Apple website. Let's get started. First of all, let's start with the cheapest configuration, starting at $1,100. It has silver, space gray, pink, green, and blue. I think my favorite color will have to be the space gray because it looks like the iMac Pros. So yeah, it's a pretty nice looking computer. And Apple states that it will be having the Apple M1 chip, the same chip as the one in the Mac Mini, the MacBook Air, and MacBook Pros that are out right now, with 8-core CPU and 8-core GPU, starting at 256 gigabytes. 8 cores for only, what, $1,000? That's amazing. And 5 colors. I think this will be one of the greatest deals you can get within a Mac, especially that it comes with a Retina 2K display. That's sRGB. I think this is great. So yeah, it also comes with 8 gigabytes of unified memory and 256 gigs of SSD storage. And also, not only that, the cheapest configuration too comes with 2 Thunderbolt ports, and these can double as USB 4 ports. So they're USB-C. You can connect say the Pro Display XDR to it, although I have no idea why you would to such a cheap computer. So yeah, this is actually an amazing deal, and at the bottom it says coming this summer. So it could be soon, could be in WWDC, we have no idea. And next, the second configuration, the medium model, will feature the Apple M2 chip as stated in this totally official image. And the M2 chip will feature 16-core CPU and 15-core GPU. This is very similar to the iPad, that iPad Pro we got in 2018, where it had 8-core CPU and 7-core GPU. The reason why it wasn't 8-core GPU was because they're saving and just keeping the 8-core for a special model, like the iPad Pro that came out in 2020, the one I have here. So, as you can see, this model has 16-core CPU and 15-core GPU. It's missing 1 core for the medium configuration, and in the high-end configuration, it has 16 cores. Now, the two high configurations are nearly identical, and the colors are the same as the cheapest model, so you still get the same 5 colors that you can choose from. The highest end has 16-core GPU and 16-core CPU, so that's amazing. It should be faster, although I'm not sure what the difference would be. And yeah, both feature M2 chips, but not the cheapest model. That only has the M1. Is it a bit unfortunate? I think so, but hey, come on. M1 is still super fast. Now, both of these high-end models come with 8 gigabytes of unified memory that's configurable to 32 gigabytes. 32 gigs with Apple Silicon is like 128 gigs in just Windows with Intel processors. So I'm pretty sure like 8 to 16 is good enough for you. But if you're really that big of a powerhouse, 32 would be far from enough. Now here's the major difference between the two. The medium model comes with 256 gigs of SSD storage, while the highest end comes with 512 gigs of SSD storage. So it's double. And both of these feature 2 Thunderbolt/USB 4 ports, according to the website, and they have, let me see, oh wow, Super Retina 4K plus HDR displays. That's almost on par to the Pro Display XDR, although it's not XDR, it's HDR. So let me just explain what Super Retina 4K plus HDR displays are. So similar to the Pro Display XDR, it will have really great colors, just vibrant, amazing displays. But the difference between the two is that this is 4K plus, so it's not even 5K. And the Pro Display XDR is 6K. If you look at the price, obviously, the medium and highest end model are at $1,300 and $1,500 respectively. So this is far less than the $5,000 to $6,000 that you have to spend to get the Full Display XDR. So I get the drawbacks with the display, but still, Super Retina displays are what's found in the iPhone 10, iPhone XS, iPhone 11. So these screens are still amazing. Although this is not OLED, this will still be LCD. And the resolution is 4600 by 2880. So this is exactly double the cheapest model with the 2300 by 1440 2K display. So yeah, this is amazing actually. I like this a lot. Even the price for 1.5K, this is a beastly computer. I think this might even outperform the $6,000 Mac Pro that you can get. So yeah, geez, this is a great deal. And with this out of the way, we can actually talk about specs comparing these computers to other Macs that are already out right now. But before we get there, I want to pause this video and just make sure you guys know that once this computer actually comes out and we actually know the specs, I will be picking one up. And once that happens, I will be making a video about it. So you guys better subscribe right now so you don't miss out on the video when it drops. And I will be testing a few special things that I don't think most other big YouTubers will mention because it's not big enough to be included, but it's still important. So with that out of the way, let's get back to the video. Comparing this computer to the Mac Mini that's featuring the M1 chip and the current 21.5-inch iMac, we see a huge difference, not only in the specs, but also just everything really. Alright, and right before we go straight back to comparing this computer with the M1 Mac Mini and the current 21.5-inch iMac, I want to say that with the redesign and everything, I believe this will be an amazing sale. Apple, I think, will be able to sell record-breaking amounts of this computer. I found this image on Reddit of this user saying they have discovered Apple, I think, just increasing the length of their lines. So perhaps that's because they know how big of a difference this new Mac will make, and maybe they know that because of the M2 chip or because of the redesign, a lot of people will be upgrading. So yeah, I think this computer itself will sell amazingly, especially with these specs. Alright, so let's compare this device to the other ones that are already existing right now. Here on the screen, you can see the first column will, for the entire rest of the video, the first column will be the Mac Mini featuring M1. Basically what we're comparing this new M2 chip to. And the middle column is the standard current 4K iMac right now. That's 21.5 inches. And for this one, we'll be comparing the physical aspects between the two. Now with that out of the way, we can look at the quick looks for these three devices. The Retina 4K display iMac has a 21.5-inch display, and the 4K Plus, or the Apple Silicon iMac, will have a 24-inch display. The Mac Mini has an 8-core M1 chip, which is much faster than the current 4K iMac, but will be blown out of the water by the new M2 chip found within the 4K Plus iMac. This is crazy. And the memory are pretty much the same. I think there's a mistake on the website because it says up to 32 gigabytes memory. It should be up to 32 gigabytes of unified memory since this is Apple Silicon. Although I think we can excuse Apple on this typo, right? If you're really needing memory, which I don't think you would need because this is Apple Silicon, but if you do, the M2 chip will allow for more RAM than the M1 chip. So this might be something you want to consider if you're hosting a server or other things that are RAM intensive. The Mac Mini can only support up to 16 gigs, while the iMac can support up to 32 gigs. Next, let's look at the processors found within these devices. So comparing between the Mac Mini and the Apple Silicon iMac, they both have system-on-chip processors. However, the Mac Mini has an 8-core CPU with 4 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. So 4 are used to do intensive tasks, and the other 4 are just for browsing Safari or something like that. It has an 8-core GPU, which, is incredibly fast, and a 16-core neural engine. Now, on the iMac, it has a 16-core CPU with 8 performance cores and 8 efficiency cores. This is amazing. Although I think Apple might actually do 4 efficiency cores and 12 the performance cores to even boost the performance even more. Although, I'm not Apple, I wouldn't know. It has a 15-core GPU on the normal medium model, although on the highest end model, it has a 16-core GPU, which is not mentioned here. Apple, another typo perhaps. And finally, a 16-core neural engine. I would be expecting like a 32-core neural engine since, it's doubled. So, everything's doubled basically of the M1 chip, but no, still 16-core. And next, let's look at memory and storage. Yeah, very fun, right? Fun fact, if you didn't know this, but the speed of Macs are actually not defined that much by the processors. Instead, it's the storage speed and the RAM speed. If your RAM and storage speed are really low, even with like Xeon chips from Intel or Apple Silicon, you'll still have horrible speeds. That's why a lot of people recommend SSDs. Like even with Apple's price markup of SSDs, it's still worth it because it just makes the devices so much better. Anyway, as for memory, the two iMacs have the same exact RAM configuration of 8 GB, 16 GB, and 32 GB, while the M1 Mac Mini has only 8 GB versus 16. So again, if you need more RAM, the iMac is the way to go. And storage. Now, here's actually a big difference. The two M1 processors are the same now, featuring 256, 512, 1TB, and 2TB SSDs, while the standard Intel iMac can only feature up to 1TB SSD or a 1TB Fusion drive, which is not supported by the two M1 models. If you are a big fan of Fusion drives because of the cheap storage that you can get, unfortunately, it will not be an option here. However, remember Fusion drives are slow and SSDs are fast? Yeah, so I recommend SSDs. Alright, and moving on to the display. Now we'll be ignoring the Mac Mini since it doesn't have a display, but for the two iMacs, just by looking at the size alone, you can see which one's superior. Obviously the new one, because of the 24-inch display. Apple will be achieving this by slightly enlarging the total device itself, but also shrinking the bezels significantly so that, the thick bezels on the iMacs, that will be significantly reduced, finally. And both of these devices are LED backlit displays, and they're LCD panels, not OLED, they're not micro LED, mini LED, they're not quantum dot. I don't know, there's so many different screens now, but yeah, these are just standard LCD displays. It's fine though. And the Intel model has a 4K display, while the Apple Silicon model has a 4K plus HDR display that's Super Retina. I think a Liquid Retina will be better because the iPhone XR has Liquid Retina and that uses LCD, while Super Retina is usually associated with OLED. Although, Super Retina sounds better than Liquid Retina. Anyway, though. Oh, I didn't even realize this before, but look at that. It's 4600 by 2280 versus 4096 by 2304. So yeah, a lot better on the new model. And the brightness too. 800 nits versus 500 nits. Sheesh. I don't know if I'm reading this right, but the 24-inch Apple Silicon iMac will feature 8-bit color depth. 8-bit color depth is like 14 million colors that can be shown on the screen. That's amazing. The Pro Display XDR has 10-bit color depth, and 10-bit color depth is a billion colors, I believe. So this is not comparable to that, but still, 14 million colors? Alright, and the size and weight. This is not really like something people care about that much, so we'll be just glancing over it. However, I think you might want to know the differences between the two iMacs. Looking at the new iMac, everything seems to be a bit larger. Like the height is just a bit higher, the width is just a bit longer, and the depth is the same. So it has the same depth of 6.9 inches. Good job, Apple. And the weight. Oh, okay. So the weight for this new iMac is actually lighter despite the volume being larger. This is because, I believe it's because you need less fans and less components inside the computer itself. Because Apple Silicon. So that's why it's a lot lighter. Similar to how the Mac Mini is mostly empty space, I believe this new iMac will still have some empty space too, despite the redesign. All right, next, camera and audio. Finally, Apple's putting in a 1080p webcam onto the iMacs because, we've been waiting for this for so long. However, we do not have Face ID. What a rip. So comparing to the old 480p cameras, I think the 1080p will be a huge improvement. So either for online classes, Zoom meetings, I don't know, live streaming, if you stream games on a Mac, 1080p is a lot better than whatever the 480p camera was. All right, and the audio, it seems like is identical to the previous iMac. Same speakers, same microphone, same thing. Let's look at what comes with the device when you buy it. This is still identical to the old iMacs. You still get the Apple mouse too, still get the Apple keyboard too. I wish they could update it because I really love the Apple mouse and the Apple keyboard. If they can update it to make it a bit better in some way, and that would be even better. Moving on though, let's talk about Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. The iMac right now, that's out, like the Intel version, is very outdated. It doesn't have Bluetooth 5, it doesn't have Wi-Fi 6. So it's amazing that from what it seems like, Apple will be updating the Wi-Fi to Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth to Bluetooth 5.0. Awesome. That means better connection, faster speeds, and longer range, I believe. The standard iMac right now that's out, and the iMac that will be coming out, the Apple Silicon that will be coming out, have the same ports, except for the Thunderbolt, where instead of Thunderbolt 3, it will be using Thunderbolt 4. And that's it though. Sorry, not Thunderbolt 4. 2 Thunderbolt and /USB 4 ports. So, a bit disappointing. I was hoping for, like, say, 4 Thunderbolt ports. I really don't care that much about USB-A ports anymore, although still having 4 is pretty good. I would much better trade like 2 USB-A ports for 2 Thunderbolt ones, but I get what they're doing. And finally, Apple Pay. Wow, you can pay with Apple Pay on the web. Oh wait, that's not all actually. We have more. Video calling, yay! So you have FaceTime video on the new Apple Silicon iMac that initiates video calls over Wi-Fi to any FaceTime-enabled devices. This is the same for like any Apple device. Come on, you don't need to include this, Apple. And Siri, same thing. So I guess that's it then. That's crazy. This is a long video. I hope it wasn't too boring of me just reading through the specs on Apple's website, which you can't actually find because these are made by me. And the things that's shown on screen, that's me photoshopped. Like, I photoshopped all of them. Isn't that crazy? It looked so real, right? I mean, I hope they look real. Especially this page right here, you see. It's amazing. That's it. Click on something on the screen right now, and I'll see you guys next time.